Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins Collections, where we turn small change into big excitement and uncover the hidden gems sitting right in your pocket. Now listen closely, because today, we're diving into a coin that's often overlooked, usually tossed aside without a second thought, but if you're lucky enough to have the right one, it could be worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1973 Jefferson Nickel, the humble 5-cent piece with a history, mystery, and value that just might surprise you. Let's start with what you see on the surface. The Jefferson Nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938. On the obverse side, you've got the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers and the third president of the United States. Above him, the word Liberty, followed by the year 1973, and tucked just behind the collar, a small mint mark. Depending on where the coin was made, flip the coin over, and there it is, Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia home, centered proudly with the words, E pluribus unum, above, and United States of America, and 5 cents, inscribed below. A clean, classic design that has stood the test of time, but what if I told you that one of these little nickels, just a simple 5-cent coin from 1973, could be worth thousands? What makes this coin so special? Let's break it down. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced millions of these nickels across 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of these coins were used in everyday transactions. They've been through vending machines, tossed in change jars, and forgotten in drawers. But among the common crowd, a few very rare examples slipped through the cracks, and those are the coins collectors are chasing. Let's talk about rarity and errors, because that's where the magic happens. First up, the full steps variety. For nickel collectors, also known as nickel heads, this is a big deal. On the reverse side of the coin, look closely at the steps leading up to Monticello. If all 5 or 6 steps are clearly visible, sharply struck, and uninterrupted, that coin qualifies as a full steps Jefferson Nickel, and these are much harder to find than you might think, especially in older coins like the 1973 issue. Why? Because most nickels suffer from weak strikes, especially in the step area, but we're not stopping there. There are also minting errors that can turn an ordinary 1973 nickel into something truly extraordinary. Some of the rarest include double die errors, where the design was struck twice, slightly off, causing letters or numbers to appear doubled. Imagine seeing a ghost-like double image in Monticello or 5 cents. If your 1973 nickel has this, congratulations, that's a jackpot-worthy find. Off-center strikes, coins that were misaligned in the press and ended up with a design that's pushed off to one side. The more off-center, while still showing the full date, the more desirable, clipped planchets, when a portion of the metal blank was accidentally clipped before striking, leaving the coin with a curved or jagged edge. These errors are very noticeable and very collectible. Wrong planchet errors, a Jefferson nickel struck on a blank meant for another denomination, like a penny or foreign coin. These errors are ultra rare and often weigh less or look slightly different in color, and here's the kicker, even if you don't have one of these major errors, the condition of your coin still plays a huge role in determining its value. Coins that were never circulated and kept in near-perfect condition are graded by services like PCGS or NGC. If you've got a 1973 Jefferson Nickel that's been professionally graded MS 65 or higher, especially with full steps or a rare error, you might be sitting on a goldmine. You see, most 1973 nickels were made for everyday use, and very few survived the decades without scratches, dings, or discoloration. So if you come across one with a shiny, crisp finish, sharp details and no visible wear, don't overlook it. Now picture this, you're sorting through a jar of old change. You find a 1973 nickel. It looks a little different, maybe a bit off-center, or the steps on Monticello are sharper than you've ever seen before. You pull out your magnifying glass and take a closer look. Could it be? Could you be the one holding the next great find? Well, here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. A rare 1973 Jefferson Nickel, featuring a mint error and graded in stunning uncirculated condition, was once sold for a remarkable $51,000. That's right, $51,000 for a 5-cent coin. So the next time you get change back at the store, or when you're digging through old drawers or coin collections, take a moment and really look. That simple nickel could be hiding something incredible. Today, we're taking a closer look at one of the most common nickels in American history, but this one comes with a twist. You've seen it. You've probably spent it. But you might have overlooked it. We're talking about the 1964 Jefferson Nickel, a 5-cent piece that millions of people have touched, but only a handful realize could be worth thousands. Sounds unbelievable? Stick around, because what looks like just another nickel might actually be your next big find. Let's rewind to 1964. It was a significant year for the U.S. Mint. The coin shortage was in full swing, and demand for everyday currency was skyrocketing. To keep up, the Mint cranked out over 1 billion Jefferson Nickels, yes, billion, with a B, between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. With so many produced, you'd think they're all the same, right? Well, not quite. Despite the massive mintage, certain rare errors and high-grade coins from 1964 have become highly valuable to collectors, and the reasons why will absolutely surprise you. Let's start with the basics. The obverse side of the coin features Thomas Jefferson, America's third president, facing left. To the left of his profile is the word Liberty, followed by the date, 1964. You might see a small mint mark, D for Denver, or no mark at all, which means it came from Philadelphia. On the reverse side, you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's famous estate in Virginia, with the inscriptions E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. Now here's where things get interesting. Let's talk rarity, errors, and collector-grade quality, the three ingredients that can turn this humble nickel into a valuable gem. First, we have the ever-popular full steps variety. If the steps on Monticello are clearly visible, all 5 or 6 lines, completely uninterrupted, that coin qualifies as a full steps nickel. And that, my friends, is rare, especially for 1964. Why? Because most coins that year were weakly struck. The mint was moving fast, trying to keep up with demand, and quality control took a back seat. That means coins with sharp, perfect steps are extremely hard to find, and very valuable to collectors. Next up, minting errors. There are some 1964 nickels out there that were struck with incredible mistakes. For example, double die obverse, a rare error where Jefferson's portrait or the inscriptions are doubled slightly due to a misalignment in the striking process. You might notice it in the words Liberty or the date. Off-center strikes. If the blank wasn't perfectly aligned when struck, you'll see the design shifted to one side. The more off-center it is, while still showing the full date, the more valuable. Clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing due to a miscut metal strip. It looks like someone took a bite out of the coin. Wrong planchet strikes. This is one of the rarest, where the 1964 nickel was struck on a blank meant for a different coin, like a penny or a foreign denomination. The color might be off, or the weight could feel lighter than a standard nickel. Each of these errors is extremely collectible on its own, but paired with a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's when things get really exciting. Let's talk condition for a second. Most 1964 nickels have been through decades of use, dropped in jars, scratched in pockets, and worn down by time. So when a coin from that year is found in mint state condition, with original shine, clean surfaces, and no circulation marks, that's a big deal. Coins are graded from 1 to 70. Anything above MS 65 is considered a gem. Add a full steps designation or a minting error, and that nickel becomes very valuable, even from a year that most people ignore. And here's something most people don't know, 1964 was the last year nickels had a date that didn't change for several years. That's because the mint froze the date to deter hoarding during the coin shortage. So 1964 nickels were actually struck well into 1965 and 1966, making the original first-year strikes even more desirable. Now imagine this. You're going through an old coin collection, maybe something passed down from a grandparent. You see a shiny 1964 Jefferson nickel, something tells you to take a closer look. The steps are sharp. The shine is brilliant. The details are crisp. You flip it under the light, and it might just be the one. And now for the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. Are you ready? A rare 1964 Jefferson nickel, featuring a minting error and preserved in exceptional uncirculated condition, has been professionally valued at $58,700, yes, you heard that right. From 5 cents to nearly 60 grand. So before you spend that next nickel, check it. Flip it. Inspect it. You could be holding a coin worth more than most people ever expect. Today's video is all about a coin that many people overlook, the 1985 Jefferson Nickel from the United States. You might have had one in your hand at some point, tossed it into a jar, or even spent it without a second thought. But here's the thing, one special version of this humble nickel could be hiding in plain sight, and it's worth a whole lot more than 5 cents. So grab your magnifying glass, get comfortable, and stick around until the end, because you're not going to believe how valuable this coin can be. Let's start by setting the scene. The year is 1985, Ronald Reagan is president, the Cold War is still casting a shadow, and Michael Jordan is just starting his NBA career. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint continues its regular production of coins, including the Jefferson Nickel. Millions were struck that year, as they are every year, meant for everyday use. Most were spent at vending machines, dropped into piggy banks, or left jingling in someone's pocket. But hidden among those millions are a few nickels that stand apart, coins that collectors today are hunting like hidden treasure. Now let's talk design. On the front of the 1985 Jefferson Nickel, you've got a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States, founding father, and the man behind the Declaration of Independence. The reverse side shows Monticello, Jefferson's elegant Virginia estate, with its iconic domed roof and neoclassical pillars. It's a timeless design by artist Felix Schlag, used for decades and beloved by collectors, but here's where it gets exciting. Not all 1985 nickels are created equal. Most are still worth face value. But a select few, those with unusual characteristics, minting errors, or preserved in pristine, untouched condition, are turning heads in the coin collecting world. And when those rare factors align? We're talking serious money. What kind of errors are we talking about? Let's dive in. Point one of the most valuable types of Jefferson nickels from 1985 are error coins. These are coins that left the mint with mistakes, flaws that make them one of a kind. Imagine a coin with a double die, where parts of the design appear twice, slightly offset. The lettering might look fuzzy or shadowed. These are known as double die errors, and they're highly sought after. They show up on the date, the word Liberty, or even Jefferson's eye, giving the coin a ghostly look that collectors love. Then there are off-center strikes, coins that weren't aligned properly when stamped, resulting in a partial design, sometimes missing entire chunks of the image. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin. There's also the rare full-step variety. This refers to the stairs on Monticello. If you can clearly see all 5 or 6 steps on the reverse of the coin, without any wear or blur, that means the coin was very sharply struck. Coins with full steps are especially rare from 1985, as that year wasn't known for high striking quality. A full-step 1985 nickel in flawless condition is like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, if your coin has a combination of these factors, say, a full-step strike, a clean surface with no scratches, a double die error, and it's uncirculated, you're looking at a piece of serious collector interest. These aren't just coins, they're time capsules, rare survivors that have escaped the everyday wear of decades. And here's the thing that gets collectors really excited. Many of these valuable nickels aren't sitting in museums or elite collections. Some of them are still out there. They could be tucked away in a coin jar, forgotten in an old drawer, or mixed into a roll from your local bank. That's what makes the hunt so thrilling. You never know when you might stumble across one. So what's the value of this unassuming coin from 1985? Most are worth just 5 cents, of course. But for the rarest examples, those in pristine condition with sharp details, visible full steps, or fascinating minting errors, the price can skyrocket at auction. And for one especially rare Jefferson Nickel from 1985, with an exceptional error and preserved in nearly perfect condition, a private collector paid an unbelievable $47,000. Yes, you heard that right. $47,000. That's the kind of money most people don't expect to see from a 5-cent coin. But in the world of numismatics, the rare becomes the remarkable. So before you dismiss that change in your pocket, take a closer look. That ordinary nickel could be something extraordinary. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins in American pocket change, the 1943 Jefferson Nickel. This isn't just any old 5-cent piece, it's a wartime relic, a piece of American heritage, and for the lucky few who find the rarest versions, a potential jackpot. Stick around, because you'll want to hear every detail. This coin has secrets, and one of them could be hiding in your collection right now. So, what makes the 1943 Jefferson Nickel so interesting? Well, let's start with the year itself, 1943. The world was in the middle of World War II. Every resource was precious, including metals. The U.S. Mint had to make some important decisions to support the war effort, and one of those changes affected the very nickel in our hands. You see, during the war, nickel was a critical material for making armor and weaponry. To conserve this metal, the mint temporarily changed the composition of the 5-cent coin. Instead of the usual nickel-copper blend, from 1942 to 1945, they minted nickels using an alloy of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. Yes, you heard that right, silver nickels. That means the 1943 Jefferson Nickel isn't just a coin. It's a silver war nickel. That alone makes it special. But wait, it gets better. Let's talk design for a moment. On the front, you have the classic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. Stoic, sharp, and still looking strong after all these years. On the reverse, the image of Monticello, Jefferson's elegant Virginia estate. It's the same design you'll find on most Jefferson nickels, but if you look closely at a 1943 war nickel, there's something different. Above Monticello, right above the dome, you'll see a large mint mark, either a P, D, or S, standing for Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. This was the first time in U.S. coin history that the Philadelphia Mint used a mint mark, and it was done to indicate the coin's silver content. That big, bold mint mark is your first clue that you're looking at a wartime silver nickel. But now, let's get to the real treasure, what makes some of these coins incredibly rare and valuable. While millions of 1943 nickels were produced, the key lies in condition and error. First, condition. If you have a 1943 nickel that has never been circulated, still in mint or near mint state, with sharp detail and clean surfaces, especially with full steps visible on Monticello, you've got something special. These are hard to find, especially since these coins are now over 80 years old. Most have seen decades of handling, scratches, and wear. But a coin kept in pristine condition, perhaps stored carefully in a collection or never used at all? That's gold for collectors. Now, let's talk errors, because this is where things get really exciting. Some 1943 Jefferson nickels have been discovered with dramatic minting errors that make them one of a kind. For example, there are double die errors, where the text or design appears slightly doubled due to misalignment during the minting process. If the word Monticello or 5 cents looks blurry or doubled, take a closer look. That's no accident. That could be a valuable error. Other rarities include off-center strikes, die cracks, or even planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong metal or with missing details. There are even rumors of a few 1943 nickels struck on standard copper-nickel planchets by mistake. Extremely rare and highly valuable. Collectors go wild for these coins because they combine historical significance, rarity, and silver content, all in one piece of change. It's the kind of coin that tells a story just by existing. And here's the best part, many of these valuable 1943 nickels aren't locked away in museums. They could be sitting unnoticed in a coin jar, tucked in a drawer, or mixed into a roll from your local bank. So, how much could a 1943 Jefferson nickel really be worth? If it's just an ordinary one with some wear, maybe $1 or $2, depending on silver value. But if it's an uncirculated coin with full steps, a sharp strike, or a dramatic error, then you've got something collectors will pay serious money for. In fact, one especially rare and flawless 1943 Jefferson nickel, featuring a full step strike, silver composition, and an extremely rare minting error, was sold to a private collector for an unbelievable $57,000. That's right. $57,000, from a nickel that once bought a candy bar, to a coin that could buy a luxury car. That's the magic of numismatics. The next time you're sorting through your old coins, or picking up change at the grocery store, don't overlook the nickels. Especially the ones from the 1940s. They might just be hiding a piece of history, and maybe even a fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1984 Jefferson Nickel from the United States. At first glance, this 5-cent coin may seem ordinary, just another piece of change from the 80s. But don't be fooled. Some versions of this coin are far from ordinary. In fact, one rare type of the 1984 Jefferson Nickel has stunned collectors and auction houses alike. And the craziest part? It could be hiding in your collection, completely unnoticed. Let's rewind a bit. The year is 1984. Ronald Reagan is president, the Cold War is still looming in the background, and the U.S. Mint is continuing its steady production of coins for circulation. Millions of nickels roll out from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Most are used, spent, and forgotten. But among them, just a handful came out different. Now, let's talk design first. On the front of the coin, you've got the sharp, side profile of Thomas Jefferson, America's third president, writer of the Declaration of Independence, and one of the greatest minds in U.S. history. He's facing left, with the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" surrounding his portrait, along with the date, 1984. Flip the coin over, and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home. It's detailed, symmetrical, and iconic. This design has been used for decades, but here's where things start to get interesting, especially for collectors who look closely. Now, let's talk about what makes certain 1984 Jefferson nickels so incredibly rare and valuable. It all comes down to condition, striking detail, and most importantly, errors. First up, condition. Most of the nickels from 1984 have been through it all, worn, scratched, dinged, and passed through hundreds of hands. But if you find one that's in uncirculated condition, or even better, a mint state coin with full steps, you're looking at something special. Full steps refer to the stairs on Monticello. If you can count 5 or 6 clear, uninterrupted steps, the coin is graded much higher, and the value jumps significantly. These full-step coins are a collector's dream, especially from years when quality strikes were inconsistent, like 1984. Now let's get to the real jackpot, mint errors. Some 1984 Jefferson nickels have been found with dramatic doubling on the lettering or date. This is what's called a double die error. That means the die that struck the coin shifted between strikes, leaving behind doubled or shadowed letters and numbers. When this happens to the date, the word "Liberty," or parts of Jefferson's face, collectors go wild. These errors are not just cool to look at, they're extremely rare and highly valuable. There are also off-center errors, where the coin was misaligned during minting, leaving a portion of the design cut off or shifted dramatically to one side. And then there's die cracks, where a small fracture in the die leaves behind raised lines across the coin's surface, giving it a unique and collectible appearance. Another ultra-rare variation comes from a few 1984 nickels being struck on the wrong type of metal planchet, like a coin blank meant for a penny or a foreign coin. These are known as planchet errors, and they're among the most desirable finds in all of coin collecting. But here's what makes the 1984 Jefferson nickel so exciting: these coins are still out there. They weren't recalled. They weren't melted down. Most of them just slipped into circulation unnoticed. That means there's a chance, however slim, that you could find one in a roll of nickels, in a drawer, or even in your change after buying a coffee. That's the thrill of coin hunting. You never know what's out there waiting to be discovered. So, how much can one of these rare 1984 Jefferson nickels be worth? If it's a regular circulated coin with no special features, it's worth, you guessed it, 5 cents. Maybe a bit more for silver value if it's in excellent shape. But here's the game changer: a flawless 1984 nickel, with a rare double die error, struck in pristine mint condition, showing full steps on Monticello, and verified by professional grading. That coin sold for an astonishing $46,000, yes. $46,000. From a 5-cent coin. That's the kind of story that gets collectors hooked, and keeps treasure hunters coming back for more. Because at the end of the day, coins aren't just money. They're history. They're art. And sometimes, they're life-changing. So if you've got a pile of old nickels, or just one from 1984, do yourself a favor. Look at it closely. You might be holding onto something far more valuable than you think. If you enjoyed this video and you want more exciting stories about coins that can make you rich, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got tons of discoveries to share, and the next one might just be in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.